Welcome to Fantasia, home of the Melodious. My name's Azallea, and today, gonna be bringing you guys another update to my Lunalight deck. Now, if you don't know, I've been putting up various polls on Twitter for you guys to vote on which versions of these deck profiles you guys want to see. And this last vote was on either an update to my previous month's Lunalight build or to see my brand new Eclipse build. Now, if you don't know what Eclipse is, it's my 60-card Lunalight deck, and I have not yet released the dual video for that deck, and it's still work in progress and I'm still working on it, but it should be coming out in a couple of weeks, so please keep your eyes peeled for that. It is going to be spectacular. Now anyway, if you want to participate in future polls or if you just want to stay updated on my uploads and schedules, please go follow me on Twitter. And without any further ado, let's just jump right into this. So starting off, we are playing 3 copies of Lunalight Black Sheep. Now Black Sheep, very important in this deck because polymerization is very key to how this deck functions, not only for the Lunalight fusions, but we play a lot of other fusions as well. So Black Sheep, being able to search that stuff out is great. And of course, you can always add back Lunalight monsters from your graveyard or extra deck when it's used for a fusion summon. Now the next card that we play, 3 copies of Lunalight Blue Cat. Now Blue Cat, again, phenomenal because she is a level 4 Lunalight monster, so she can allow you to go into your Zodiac XYZ monsters. Now the thing is, we don't have Kaleido Chick and we don't have Crimson Fox, and they're kind of important to the deck, at least the full version of Eclipse. This is the TCG legal version of it, so of course we don't have access to Kaleido Chick and we have to wait until she gets imported. Okay, so next off we play 3 copies of Lunalight Tiger, which is phenomenal because her pendulum effect allows you to monster reborn things, which is great for going for fusion XYZ plays, and when she is destroyed you also get another monster reborn effect, so you can potentially use her several times in a single turn, and that's how we usually establish our fields, just by abusing her effect. Now the last Lunalight monster that we play is 1 copy of Lunalight Wolf, which is great for making our Lunalight Leo Dancer, or you could potentially even make Panther Dancer if you need to by banishing your Lunalight Cat Dancer. But in this build we won't be going for cards like Harbinger and such, like my previous builds. We'll be focusing more on the other fusion monsters that we have in this deck. Okay, so that does it for the Lunalight monsters. Next off, we have this small plant engine. We have the 3 copies of Lonefire Blossom. And Lonefire Blossom is amazing because not only does it help you thin your deck, but it also helps you grab your Predaplant Orifice Scorpios, which we play 3 copies of. Now, Orifice Scorpio, you can always send 1 monster from your hand to the graveyard to special summon a Predaplant monster from your deck. And in this case, it's either going to be a Predaplant Darlingtonia Cobra, which we play 2 copies of, which allows you to search out any polymerization or fusion spell card from your deck and add it to your hand, which is really nice for searching out, especially things like Brilliant Fusion. And I'll get into all the cards that we can search out later when we get to the spells. The other target that we can get is the Predaplant Chlamydia Sundew. Now, Sundew is absolutely amazing because you can actually fuse. It's like a Soprano, but you can also fuse with monsters in your hand. So this allows you to go for some of your Predaplant fusions really easily. And this gets some potentially dead cards out of your hand. And it's just another way to fuse without polymerization, which is always nice. And it's also another target for your Scorpio, just in case you've already used your Cobra for that in that duel, because you can only use Cobra's effect once per duel. You can Scorpio into the Sundew and then you can go for fusion plays there. Now the last plant card that we play is 1 copy of Spore. Now Spore is absolutely phenomenal because of the fact that if this card is in your graveyard, you could banish 1 other plant type monster in your graveyard and special summon this card. And then you increase the level of this card by the level of the banished monster. Now, what you're normally going to do is banish either Scorpio or Cobra or a Lonefire Blossom, which are level 3s, which makes Spore into a level 4 tuner. So you can go for level 8 Synchro monsters pretty easily with like your Lunalight level 4s or your other level 4s you have in your deck, or you can actually overlay with Spore and another level 4 and go into your XYZs. It's just another very versatile way to access your extra deck. Okay, anyway, that does it for all of the plants. Next off, we're going to go into this mini dark engine that we play. So we play 3 copies of Armageddon Knight, which is obviously really great for sending dark monsters from our deck to the graveyard, such as Lunalight Blue Cat, or in this case you can also send Blackwing Zephyros the Elite. And Blackwing Zephyros the Elite, if this card is in your graveyard, you can return 1 face-up card you control to your hand to special summon this card, and if you do, you take 400 damage, which is fine because most of the time we're going to be bouncing back cards such as Lunalight Tiger to reuse her effect, or you bounce back things like Black Sheep to search for additional polymerizations and such. That's always really nice. Okay, next off, we're going to go into this mini, what I like to call a Burning Abyss engine, but you guys can call it whatever you want. I play one copy of Tour Guide from the Underworld, and Tour Guide, if you normal summon this card, you can special summon one level 3 Fiend type monster from your hand or your deck. Its effects are negated and you can't use it for a synchro material, but that is completely fine because the monsters we're going to bring out, we're usually going to fuse with them. Now I'm running out of space here, so I'll probably clear it out and then continue in just a bit. But here, next off we go into Sangan. Sangan is the card you want to summon off of Tour Guide, because when Sangan is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add one monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck to your hand. So this can set up amazing plays for your next turn, because of the fact that you can't activate the cards or effects of cards with the name as the same card that you searched. So if you searched out something like a Predaplant, then you can't just normal summon it and get its effect off. You have to wait until next turn. So normally we're going to be searching out hand traps such as Max C. Okay, so the next card that we play is one copy of Fiendish Rhino Warrior, and I absolutely love this card because you can also bring it out with Tour Guide. So it says that Fiend-type monsters you control, except Fiendish Rhino Warrior, cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects, and if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can send one Fiend-type monster from your deck to the graveyard, except Fiendish Rhino Warrior, and you can only use this effect once per turn. So it's like a foolish burial for some of the Burning Abyss monsters that we're going to play. And we play one copy of Skarm, Mala Branch of the Burning Abyss, because Skarm allows us to search for our Tour Guide, and you can also dump this with things like Armageddon Knight or Foolish Burial, whatever else you have to send things from your deck to the graveyard. Skarm is absolutely amazing, especially if you first turn, you get to send your Skarm. Next turn, you have your Tour Guide ready, so you can go for either rank 3 XYZs, or you can bring out Sangan and fuse Tour Guide and Sangan to Starving Venom, and get a search off of Sangan, and then you get a huge beat stake in the form of Starving Venom, so that's always really nice, especially on your next turn where your opponent probably has a big field, and then because they have a big field, Starving Venom actually becomes much more potent. Okay, and the last Burning Abyss card that we play is one copy of Farfa, Mala Branch of the Burning Abyss. And Farfa is amazing, and I like him as a tech because if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target one monster on the field and banish it until the end phase. So this can get rid of some problematic cards on your opponent's side of the field. It can bait out some negation effects, and it's just really, really nice to have, especially if you remove like an XYZ monster, they lose all of their XYZ materials when they return to the field. So that's always pretty cool. Okay, so next off, we are playing one copy of Zodiac Whiptail. I don't run Rapiers or anything in this deck. The only reason I run Whiptail is I need a second target for my Invoker, MX Saber Invoker that I play in the extra deck. So one copy of Whiptail. The other target that I play, the more important target, is one copy of Heroic Challenger Thousand Blades. Now, Thousand Blades, whenever you would take damage, you can actually special summon this card back from your graveyard in attack position. So this is actually really good, and it works really well with cards like Trick Clown, because when you take damage from Trick Clown comes back, burns you for 1,000, and then you can summon Thousand Blades back, and you can make a rank 4 monster, so that's always phenomenal. So these are the two targets for MX Saber Invoker, and they actually work really well. And of course, Zodiac Whiptail is also really great to search out with Brawl Bowl, so you can just add another additional layer of protection to your Trident. Next off, we're playing one copy of Performage Trick Clown, which is our Brilliant Fusion target. And of course, if you don't have Trick Clown in your deck left as a target, you can always send things like Lunalight Tiger or Lunalight Wolf, because they're both light monsters as well. And for our Gem Knight, we play one copy of Gem Knight Lazuli, but you can play any other Gem Knight that you want. And last but not least, we play one copy of Max C as our hand trap for the deck. That's really great to search out with Sangan. It's just phenomenal as a card and just puts a halt to your opponent's plays. So I actually managed to fit everything into the screen. But yeah, that does it for all of the monsters. And remember, this is a 60 card deck. So yeah, let's move on into the spell cards. Okay, so for the spell cards, starting off, we are playing 3 copies of Fire Formation Tenki, which is, of course, here to search out all of the Lunalight monsters that we need for our combos. You can also search out a Whiptail if you don't need any other Lunalight monsters, which is kind of nice, because then you can put Whiptail onto one of your Zodiac XYZs as additional layer of protection and as additional damage. Okay, next off we play 2 copies of Polymerization. Really important card because, of course, this deck is a very heavy fusion-based deck, and it doesn't just rely on the Lunalight monsters. It has a lot of other fusion monsters as well. And of course, we also play 1 copy of Fusion Substitute because I love this card. You get to recycle your fusion monsters, get additional draws, and you don't have to waste Daigusto Emerald's effect just to put back an additional fusion monster. This helps you as well. And next off, for more fusion cards, we play 2 copies of Fusion Recovery. Now, the reason why this is in this build is because we don't have access to Kaleido Chick. If you don't know, Kaleido Chick allows you to, when she's sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you get to add 1 polymerization from your deck back to, 1 polymerization from your graveyard back to your hand. So Fusion Recovery is here because we don't have Kaleido Chick, but this is also searchable by your Predaplant Darlingtonia Cobra, so that's why this is a phenomenal card. Next off, we are playing 2 copies of Fusion Recycling Plant. Again, because we do not have Kaleido Chick, we need ways to get polymerization back from our graveyard, and this is actually a phenomenal way to recover things. It's like a Fusion Recovery, but a little bit slower, but it's still it's a permanent card that just stays on the field, which is nice. And during the end phase of the turn, where if you Fusion Summoned, you can actually add 1 of the Fusion materials used for the Fusion Summon this turn and add it back to your hand. So that's always kind of nice. Recover some resources. It's actually pretty good. And of course, because it's a 60 card deck, 2 field spells isn't always enough, so we also play 2 copies of Terraforming, just to see a little more often. But between these 6 cards, as long as you grab 1 of them, you should be fine. You don't always need to continuously recover your fusion monsters, as we'll get into in just a bit, because you can always go for other plays. Now, next off, we were playing 3 copies of Brilliant Fusion. Now, Brilliant Fusion, phenomenal card because we can summon our Seraphinite from our extra deck and get an additional normal summon. And because we have Tour Guide, Armageddon Knight, and all of our Lunalight monsters, we need extra normal summons to get things onto the field. This also lets you put an additional body of Trick Clown onto the field so you can go for additional rank 4s. Next off, we play 1 copy of Ultra Polymerization, which is really great for starting off our plays. If you already have like a Brilliant Fusion, this is probably the 2nd best card to search out, maybe equal to like, you know, Fusion Recovery or something. But Ultra Polymerization is great. You can go for a Fusion play, then you can summon back the materials that were used for that Fusion summon, and then go for XYZ plays after that, which is really nice. Okay, next off we were playing 1 copy of Refusion. Refusion, it's really great because it's searchable by our Predaplant monsters, of course, but also because the fact that you don't have to worry if your monsters get destroyed, because then you can use Refusion, and then it's basically like a monster reborn for a fusion monster, bring it back, and it's a huge surprise factor because nobody really plays this card, and I believe it's phenomenal. Okay, so next off we're going to go into some of the other spells that we play. 3 copies of Lunalight Perfume. Perfume is absolutely amazing because it's a monster reborn and a searcher, and none of its effects are limited to once per turn, so you can potentially abuse this card really well if you combo it off and manage your resources well. Okay, so next off we play 3 copies of Allure of Darkness because we play so many dark monsters in this deck that it'd be foolish not to play this. So yeah, 3 copies of Allure of Darkness gets any dead copies of monsters that you don't need right now out of your hand, so you can draw 2 new cards and hopefully potentially could draw into some of your combo pieces or things that you need to extend your plays. And then, of course, we have to play 1 copy of Soul Charge because Soul Charge is phenomenal for recovering boards, especially our boss monsters. If, like, it's late in the game, you top deck a Soul Charge, you can bring back so many things and potentially just steal the game from there. Next off, we also play 1 copy of Reinforcements of the Army, which allows you to search out your Armageddon Knights. So this is essentially a 4th copy of Armageddon Knight, because he's kind of important. He sets up a lot of plays, because he's basically like the Kaleido Chick right now, where he can send your Lunalight Blue Cats and things to the graveyard, so you can revive them with Lunalight Tiger or Perfume. Of course, if we had Kaleido Chick, I would still be playing Armageddon Knight, but Kaleido Chick, of course, just adds 3 more cards that could potentially be doing that job. So we want to see Armageddon Knight as soon as possible. Next off, we also play 1 copy of Foolish Burial. This gets whatever we need into the graveyard, kind of like I mentioned earlier, like what Kaleido Chick does and what Armageddon Knight does, just getting what you need to the graveyard. But the utility with this card is you can also send things like Spore to the graveyard, just so, you know, you don't have to lone fire it out or anything like that. Yeah, Foolish Burial is just a pretty versatile card in this deck. And yeah, that does it for the main deck. Next off, we're going to go into the side deck. Okay, so for the side deck, starting off, we were playing 1 copy of Abyss Dweller. This is just kind of nice to be able to side in if you are up against a matchup where your opponent's deck is very graveyard reliant. We have a kind of tight extra deck, so this is kind of here for more utility, just in case you need it. Next off, since we don't play any of these in the main deck, we were side decking 3 copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. And this is pretty good in this deck because it's a level 3 monster. That's pretty nice. And you could also potentially use it as a synchro material, as a level 3 tuner with your Seraphinite to go for level 8 synchro monsters. So yeah, that's always really nice. And Ghost Ogre, of course, is probably one of the best hand traps in the game right now. Next off, we play 1 copy of Raigeki for those board clears, and to accompany that, we also play 2 copies of Dark Hole, because when you're going second, you really want to just try to clear the opponent's field. And of course, Dark Hole also combos with Lunalight Blue Cat. If you normal summon your Blue Cat and then you activate Dark Hole, you get to summon other Lunalight monsters from your deck. And then if you have like a Lunalight Tiger and stuff, you can bring back the other Lunalight Blue Cat that was just destroyed by Dark Hole and then go for rank 4 play. So there's some synergy there as well. Next off, we play some spell and trap removal in the form of Twin Twisters, 3 copies of those, just for additional removal, although we do play Tornado Dragon in our extra deck, so that's why I felt like I didn't really need to main deck any removal, because we have pretty easy access to rank 4s. Next off, we play some effect negation in the form of Forbidden Chalice, 3 copies of this, which is really easy to use to negate things on both your turn and your opponent's turn. And then last but not least, we play 2 copies of Lost Wind, which allows you to have additional negation, but also has the attack of monsters so that your Lunalights can go for massive amounts of damage. And if this card is in your graveyard, you can always reset it if your opponent summons something from the extra deck, which is really nice. So basically like 4 additional negations in these 2 cards. But yeah, that does it for the side deck. Next off, we're going to go into the extra deck. Alright, so for the extra deck, starting off, we are playing 1 copy of MX Saber Invoker, of course, because we have our Zodiac Whiptail and our Heroic Challenger Thousand Blades as targets, and this is actually really amazing, because if you use something like Ultra Polymerization to go for a fusion play, then you can bring back the 2, like, Predaplant monsters, let's say, that you used for that fusion play, and then you can go for an MX Saber Invoker, and then continue your plays by summoning level 4 monsters out of your deck, so that's always really nice. Okay, next off, we're playing 1 copy of Zodiac Tiger Mortar. I prefer Tiger Mortar and not like Chakanine or whatever, because Tiger Mortar allows you to reattach Zodiac monsters as materials to other XYZs. You can attach Whiptail to your Zodiac monsters, of course, but you can also attach things to like a Daigusto Emerald or any other XYZ that you need Tornado Dragons to get extra uses out of them, which is always really nice. Next off, we were playing 2 copies of Zodiac Brawl Bull, which allows us to go for our infamous double searching on our turn. You make your first Brawl Bull with 2 level 4 monsters, you go for a search, then you overlay into Tiger Mortar, reattach if necessary, and then you can go for your second Brawl Bull and go for a search. Next off, we cap off the Zodiac Tower with 1 copy of Zodiac Trident, which is of course really nice disruption, and it allows us to combo off a ton because you could destroy your own Lunalight Tigers and things like that with its effect to continue your combos on your turn. Next off, we were playing 2 copies of Daigusto Emerald. I don't have my second Emerald, but Emerald is absolutely amazing because of the fact that you can just recycle your cards, and you go through a lot of your extra deck on your first turn if you're setting up a massive field. So Emerald is really great to make on your second turn or any other subsequent turns to recover those resources, get additional draws, and just cycle through and help you manage everything so that you could get advantage. Okay, next off, we play 1 copy of Tornado Dragon. As I mentioned earlier, just great spell and trap removal both on your turn and your opponent's turn. And so that does it for the XYZs, but we do actually play 1 Synchro monster, and that's going to be Psyframe Lord Omega. Of course, I don't have my copy of Omega right now because it just got reprinted in Battles of Legend Light's Revenge, and that's an amazing set. So Psyframe Lord Omega, pretty cheap to get your hands on right now if you want one, and it is phenomenal in this deck because you can put back banished cards back to your graveyard, and you can snipe cards out of your opponent's hand, which is really nice. So that's why I like to play 1 copy of that. And yeah, so next off, we're going to move on into the fusions. Okay, so for the fusion, starting off, we're playing 1 copy of Gem Knight Seraphinite, which is, of course, our brilliant fusion target. You can get your double normal summons, send your trick clowns, and all that good stuff. The next card that we play is 1 copy of Predaplant Chimera Rafflesia. Now, Chimera Rafflesia is going to be one of the main fusion monsters that you're going to rely on a lot for a lot of your plays. And of course, Chimera Rafflesia also acts as a Darlingtonia Cobra, where if this card is sent to the graveyard during the next standby phase, you can actually search out 1 Polymerization or fusion spell card from your deck, which is nice. And Chimera Rafflesia has like a Blackluster Soldier and Envoy at the beginning effect, where you can just target 1 monster your opponent controls that has a level equal to or less than this card, and then banish it, and then this card can still attack that turn, which is kind of cool. So when this card attacks actually and it battles an opponent's monster, you can have your opponent's monster lose 1,000 attack, and this card gain 1,000 attack for the rest of the turn. So that's absolutely amazing, and this helps you get over a lot of different cards, such as Masterpiece, so that's always nice. Yeah, so Chimera Rafflesia is probably going to be one of your main cards that you're going to be fusing into very often. Now, unfortunately, we don't have cards like Dracostapelia yet in this game, but hopefully it gets imported in some future sets. But you'll definitely see that in my OCG build. This is the TCG legal version, of course. So next off, we're playing one copy of Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. This is probably one of the most amazing cards in this deck because of the fact that you can fuse your Tour Guide and Sangan into this card, and then Starving Venom is just absolutely amazing because you can copy your opponent's monster effects. If they're a level 5 or higher monster, you could target it and then gain its effects. But also, when this card is fusion summoned, you can gain attack equal to a special summon monster that your opponent controls. This card can potentially become huge. And of course, if this fusion summon monster is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you destroy all special summon monsters your opponent controls. Now, you can always make this on your first turn alongside of a Trident. And the thing is, if your opponent starts spamming the field and has a lot of different monsters, instead of just popping one of them with Trident, you can actually destroy your own Starving Venom, and Starving Venom will Raigeki your opponent's field on their own turn, which is absolutely phenomenal, and not a lot of people realize that you can do that. But those little interactions can help you win the duel. Okay, next off, we're going to the Lunalight Fusions, one copy of Lunalight Cat Dancer, of course, because we need it to climb into the cards such as Lunalight Panther Dancer. We only play one copy of each of the Lunalight Fusions, and we cap things off with one copy of Lunalight Leo Dancer. Now, the reason why I play one copy of each is because you can easily recycle them if you need to, by using, of course, the Fusion Substitute, your Daigusto Emeralds, and things like that. And if you do banish them, if you banish like a Cat Dancer and another Lunalight monster for your Panther Dancer, you can, if you have an Omega, put back the Cat Dancer back into your graveyard, and then you can always shuffle the Cat Dancer back into your extra deck with Daigusto Emerald and things like that. So there's just an infinite loop of resources that you can tap into, so it's really great, and I don't really think you need more than these. Of course, this is just a very tight extra deck, and a deck meant for fun, so yeah. Anyway, that does it for the extra deck, and that does it for this deck profile. So thank you all so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed it or found it helpful, please leave a like, subscribe for more Lunalight content, and leave a comment down below letting me know what I can do to improve. And until next time, take care.